Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Speak for Success podcast. And today we have an amazing guest, Sasha Mitroshkina, uh, who is VP Marketing in CloudLinux. Hello, Sasha.
Hi, Alex. Nice to be here on your first episode of the podcast.
Nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Sasha, for those who don't know you yet, could you please share a bit of your background and what led you to product marketing?
Of course. So I have been in marketing for more than a decade, right, at the moment, and I have previously been in sales, in product management, and by education, I am a public relations specialist. But I haven't worked in this role even a day in my life, and so after working in sales and in product development, I realized that I want to have somewhere in between, like to do something in between of sales, product management, and marketing, and to have this creative component and to have this cross-functional component in my role. And that's how I ended up building my product marketing career. And now I'm in my next step of the journey. It's more on the leadership side. It's includes product marketing, but I have now the separate person who does product marketing on my team. But it really helps me understand the um, underlying like pains and challenges of the audience that we are trying to reach, and it really made me a better VP of marketing for sure. Yeah.
Great. And as far as I know, you also participated in some conferences as a speaker. Can you say that it also was a step in your career and it benefited your career?
So definitely my participation in conferences, which have been mostly virtual at this moment, but I'm preparing for the offsite on-site conference that's going to happen in Berlin in October right now, and definitely it has benefited my career tremendously, because the more you are shining out there, the better is. The bigger is the attention that you get from the potential hiring managers. And sometimes, from time to time, I get the requests for consulting like that, just by creating the content around my participation or some other thought leadership content, and it definitely helps build presence out there. Definitely.
Was it your motivation building a career when you start speaking, or did you have any other motivation as well?
Yeah, for me, the speaking engagements are mostly the means to achieving something. So, for example, if you are building your own business, then it would be logical for you to go on certain conferences and showcase your product. In case of professional conferences, like for example, if you are not trying to sell anything, but you are trying to share your expertise, yeah, conference is one of the ways to do that. So my main motivation was to share my insights and my um, cases that I have encountered over my career, over the course of my career. And conferences are just one of the tools that I use. I also do blogging, blog posting, and actively post on LinkedIn. And and I also recorded my own course on one of the areas that I am proficient in marketing.
How did you prepare to your very first speaking slot, to your very first talk? How did you feel, and what did you do to overcome fears?
So I think my first biggest engagement was in 2024. It was a go-to-market conference where I was talking about sales enablement and how marketing can work with sales to um, bring better deals. To close more deals and so on and so forth. And so I think it was the first experience, and therefore I was the most anxious about it, but it really turned out to be really, really good. And how I prepared for it is I usually do like several dry runs before the event, and I take a lot of time building the content itself. I start with like the outline, and then I always try and find some or make myself or try and find some data points that I can share during the talk, and then like the whole outline becomes gets more and more details, and it becomes a story. I also like putting like an abstract for myself, not the one that I put on the website of the organizers, but like for myself, what do I want to say? What is my story here? And sometimes I also do. I also took the course on public speaking in advance of the first speaking engagement, so it also helped me to feel more or less relaxed. But it's always very, very frightening, and I think it only gets better when you with practice. So the more you go on these, no matter how big or small events, whether it's like a conference or whether it's a podcast. The first podcast I did I was very nervous, but after the second and third, it was a completely different situation. And for this one, I haven't even looked at the questions. So it just gets better
With
with
practice.
practice. But definitely preparing for a big conference will take me at least a month, from like the outline to putting the content together to creating the presentation and to rehearsing and being on stage. Yeah, so it's at least a month of preparation.
It's a big work, yeah. And
It is. It is.
it's a good advice to prepare an abstract for yourself. I never heard such a practice. I think I will take it to my notes.
Yeah, feel free. It's a recent thing that I found that I wasn't sure. Like it kind of brings it all together. Like when you know what you want to convey, like subliminal message, I call it. Like when yes, you have a topic, but what exactly do you want people to go out of the conference with, of your talk with? Like what exactly it is one thing that you will answer to? Because uh, sometimes we choose the topic, and then within the presentation we don't answer the question that we have on the topic, and that's, I think, is a big problem. We need to be on point, like what value am I trying to bring to the audience?
Yes, I agree, definitely. Sometimes you just go to a presentation and you don't understand why this presentation has this talk title. Sometimes
Yep.
it's something different.
Yep.
And do you often go to the conferences as an attendee, not as a speaker?
Yes, last year I think I've been to like 10 different conferences across the globe, and it's although it's been exciting, it's very tiring to go to that many, but I'm very grateful for the experience for sure.
And what are you looking for at these conferences as an attendee? Networking or content or what?
Definitely networking as part of the booth duty. It is there. The second thing is the talks that I can attend and understand like what the competitors are doing, what the bigger players on the market are doing, and what is where the uh, market is going. That's what conferences sometimes help understand. And yeah, so it's networking, it's content consumption, and of course it's also meeting the team and meeting the people that are behind the organizing of the event. I also take pictures of the booths to see then what kind of messaging other people have, and yeah. But that's because I'm in marketing. Maybe people from product would be doing other things, like for example, talking about their product development and with the attendees. And sometimes, most of the time, people just go and get a lot of swag from the booths, and they have to figure out how to ship them home, like all the socks and plush toys. So yeah, we all have different goals, I guess, from and values that we get from going to the events like that. But it's always it's always beneficial.
Yeah, and I would also add that for the remote companies, it's also a meeting point to meet your team quite often, and it's very
Yeah,
enriching and
yeah.
beneficial.
And meeting your customers as well, because you probably will never have a chance, maybe except for you go like to the off-site visit for your customer, and that's one thing. And conferences is another way to meet your customers and prospects, and to put like face to a name, I guess, of who you see in your emails. So yeah, it's always exciting.
And how do you choose which conference is worth your time and investment in terms of travel expenses? Do you choose the closest conferences to your geographical point, or you go to some particular
Mhm.
conferences?
Well, it depends on who is going to be from the rest of the team on at the event. So, for example, right now I'm thinking of going, whether I need to go to the one of WordPress conferences that's going to happen in the beginning of or in the middle of August, but it's just one day, and it's very far away from where I am right now, and we have staff that's there on site, like in the United States. So yeah, definitely the geography matters, but also there are some flagship events throughout the year that require my attendance, and that's when I travel the most. But for smaller conferences, we're trying to fill with the booth, or the send the representative who is closer to the event, being in particular geography.
Makes sense. Yeah. And if we speak about product marketing, how do you see the role of events there? Are we still relevant post-pandemic, or just a way to spend your budget?
Yeah, I'd say definitely it's a good way to grow awareness about your business, not necessarily build like a huge customer base. When you staff a booth with someone who is interested in selling, even though they are, for example, in marketing or in the product organization, this is more effective than just being there and giving away swag and just we're here. Sometimes you can get a very good if you present your product, and you can get interest from the attendee, and you can get the sales to follow up with them. So that's a very good outcome of marketing being there, because especially product marketing, because product marketing understands the product through and through, and not only on the technical side, but also on the business side. So we can put the two together and talk about like how it can solve their challenges, and so on and so forth. So definitely from the awareness building, from the lead generation, not so much, but it can happen. And from the research perspective, definitely something that I would go to. Like, for example, the recent WordPress event that we went to, but actually my product marketer from the new team, he went to the WordPress event, and we learned so much about the audience that we didn't know about before. So it's a very good research tool for marketing, definitely. And yes, definitely, it is still relevant to be at the events, and but what you need to consider is whether your audience is there, because there may be some events that are like huge events, like AWS reInvent, where there are so many people out there, but mostly those are AWS customers and developers, and you need to make informed decisions about like what kind of audience goes there, whether your investment will be returned.
Yeah, it's a good point. I had a lot of benefits of conferences in terms of brand awareness or lead generation, but in terms of research, it's a very good point. Not so many people talk about that, but it may be
Well,
a good thing to understand your customers and to talk to them directly.
yeah, in my previous team, my one of the product marketers, she went to the open source conference, and she just sat down with our solutions engineer, and they just recorded a few things for the sales team, even like what are the challenges, what are the outcomes, what are the solutions. So it's definitely you can do the same with the audience that goes there, like just provide them with some kind of special swag or like a gift card or something like this, and then you get, like, for example, if you're launching a new business, like you're launching a startup and you are contemplating whether you need to go to a particular event, prepare for it in advance and understand, like, okay, looking at the attendee profile, I need to meet with this and this person, or like with this profile of people, and I want to ask them this and this kind of questions. You kind of are a product manager, acting product manager of your business, and you go to this event and you just talk to people and understand whether on a big scale there is a problem that you're trying to solve with your business, for example. That's how I see it for the research.
And do you measure the success of events for a company somehow? How do you decide if you should participate in this event next year or no?
So usually we decide based on the audience that is there. And at some point when you go to the events like year after year, you understand what kind of audience in a particular event goes to a particular event. And sometimes you even like understand that, well, it doesn't make sense to send the whole team there because everybody already knows about us, or we have been there and it's not a very big like turnaround, only like 1,000 people. So we don't need to staff the booth like fully. So let's just send a few people. So it depends on like your past learnings, depends on your audience. It can be a completely new audience that you're trying to reach. That's why you need to go to new conferences as well and see how they, how they look. But usually what I'm looking at is how many people go through your booth, whether the conversations are the ones that you want to be happening. Like if, for example, you are in a database business and people are joining that are not even like remotely touching the database layer, that's not your audience. Even though you can build awareness, until you have a like developer kind of product, it's just, you should understand that you are just investing into something that someday can be returned. But if sometimes there are conversations that are like, okay, I'm a systems administrator and or a database administrator. If these are the people that you want to reach, then yes, definitely that's your event. Also, how you can understand whether it's your event or not, you need to look at the agenda of the talks that are going to happen during the event, and that's going to show you like what kind of audience they are trying to attract.
Yeah, great. I also think like the quality of conversations is the most important thing I'm looking at in events. That's how you can understand if it's your people or not, if it does worth the investment. Are there any conferences or trends in event marketing which you are particularly excited about?
I think every business I have been employed with have had their own like top conferences they go each year, and those will differ from business to business. From the is definitely everyone in SaaS space and in IT, they all try and go to AWS reInvent, and if you are in cybersecurity, it's RSA conference. Right now I'm in hosting, and it's CloudFest across the globe. And there are flagship events that are happening for each market. So it will depend on what market I'm in. And for example, for marketing technology, MarTech, they have their own like Money 2020, for example, as one of the flagship events. So yes, it will depend on the domain, but definitely there are rolling events that are everybody knows that are flagship. And like for open source business, it would be open source summits and such. So yeah, I cannot pinpoint one or two, but definitely reInvent, CloudFest, RSA are the biggest ones.
And do you think participating in online events is still relevant, or offline events are much better for marketing? What do you think?
It depends on your budget, because if you don't have a budget to go to the offline event or the team to staff the booth, it's going to be quite challenging to go there. But if we're talking about online events, they're still there, and but those can be used more for lead generation than for awareness. Because if you run those events, you can run your events yourself, right? I haven't seen much of the virtual, like before when they were like after COVID, we were just recovering from COVID. They were like, okay, you can go to the on-site event, but also you can join in virtual booths, right? So I haven't seen much of it lately. Like the last few years, I haven't seen much of the virtual versions of the events. So I think it's just dying out maybe. But if we are talking about the webinars, for example, that's the thing still, and still happening. Yeah.
Is there any advice you could give to a person who would like to submit its first call for paper in product marketing space to a product marketing conference?
Yeah, I guess like look at the topics that are trending and that you feel comfortable talking about, and that would probably lend you some slot. But what is more important than that is build connections with the organizers. So how I ended up having this slot in Berlin and also in London this June, I was in constant communication with one of the organizers and providing him with like sometimes he posts something on LinkedIn. Like right away message him about like, okay, do you have a spot? I can talk about this and this. But initially the first two engagements were online, so I wasn't they were trying to see whether I'm a good fit or and so on and so forth. So maybe don't try and don't put the high goals in the beginning. You need to first build network, build your first presence, try and go to smaller events, try and go to like webinars, try and go to the podcasts. And by the way, for podcasts, you can just reach out to the podcast host and say that I want to talk about this. Do you need a guest? And mostly out of like 10 of such messages that I sent, only one didn't have a spot because they just completed the current podcast season, and that was it. But overall, everyone is looking for free time of other people who can just jump to your podcast and talk about something. But it really can build you a portfolio of like public engagements, and then when next time you will need to do your CFP submission, you can put like, okay, I've spoken here, here, and here, and they will see how you present the material, and yeah, it's going to be easier, and you will have some practice as well.
It's a good advice, really, like participate in a podcast or some webinars.
Yeah.
To have some
Because
practice.
it can be It can be very, very long time until you get your first CFP approved. And again, there aren't that many big conferences throughout the year that, and you may miss the call for paper deadline. So it's not that I'm talking like a year or so, like in of active work towards getting the on stage, on real stage. But before that, nothing stops you from some smaller engagements.
Yes, and you can enrich your profile definitely this way. So when you're ready to go on stage, you will be at least kind of experienced speaker.
Yeah, in talking and not cringing when you're listening to the recording after, because we're all
Definitely.
like thinking, oh my God, like, is this my voice? Is this how I look? So it's definitely helping. The practice helps. But it should be like the practice that is in like controlled environment, I guess.
Yes, so not to take too much for yourself. Take as much as you can swallow, actually, for yourself to
Hmm.
practice and feel confident.
Yeah.
And is there any conference engagement where people can meet you offline? Did you already plan your next conference?
Yes, so I will be in Berlin for Go-to-Market Alliance Summit. It's a product marketing alliance set of events. So I think it's 14th of October. So if you'd like to meet me there, yeah, follow me on LinkedIn, and there's going to be some announcements as well. But other than that, the trade show that I'm going to is going to probably be in November. It's going to be CloudFest United States. It's a hosting related event where I'll be as an attendee. In Berlin, I will be as a presenter.
Great. So if someone wants to connect with you, they have a chance to meet you in person.
Yeah, and always connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sasha, for joining us. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Alex. And yeah, I'm always open to answer any questions about anything related to public speaking, marketing, SaaS, agile and marketing. And yeah, happy to be of assistance.